we're so lucky that our newest team member, Brandon London, is a former player of the NFL. So let's go right to Brandon.
And
Brandon,
Super Bowl champ.
Super Bowl champ.
Yeah, B. London.
Brandon, you saw in President Trump's tweet, he put outrage in quotes. He also said that he doesn't think the players even know why they're protesting. So as a former player yourself, who knows a lot of these players, do they know why they're protesting? Can you speak to that?
Exactly. Yes, I do. And I've texted some guys. I even DM'd some guys this morning. And Mr. President, I know you're trying to flip the narrative and try and make it about the anthem, trying to make it about the flag. But you have to understand the NFL, sports, is something that a lot of guys, especially black men, have used to get out of their situations, to make their lives better, to make their families' lives better, to make their communities' lives better. And because Colin Kaepernick did what he did and brought the awareness and has sacrificed his career, Eric Reid has sacrificed his career for the overall awareness, and they have people talking about it. They've done their job. Now it's up to the NFL guys to do the act, to start bringing light to the active part. Guys like Malcolm Jenkins, everyone's like, oh, he's sitting there, he's raising his fist in the air. Malcolm Jenkins sends kids to school. He spent over $100,000 in scholarships. Guys like Kenny Stills from the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Herald has called him the Miami Dolphins' most socially active member. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the kneel. We're talking about, oh, the NFL needs to put something in a policy in place. It's not fair. The narrative, to flip the narrative is not fair. But to my NFL brothers, because it's a fraternity, once you're in the NFL, you're always in the NFL. To my NFL brothers, it's time to start bringing more light, shining more light to the activities that you're doing in our communities for this social injustice.
Brandon. Brandon, to the fact that, of course, you agree that the players are protesting against police brutality and being a black man in America and what that's like. But you also are the son of a father who has fought for this country, who was a police officer, who also was a football coach. So I feel like you embody everything that both sides are talking about. So would you, Brandon, kneel if you were playing today?
And you didn't mention that my grandfather was in the service. My grandfather fought in Vietnam, and I remember talking to my grandmother. They had came back from, I believe, Africa, being on a tour in Africa, and they were in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they were refused service. So I understand that was a long time ago, but this stuff is still going on right now. Come on, let's be honest. So having a father who he is, the first black the first black head coach in University of Virginia history, he was also a police officer before that. He was also a man that, and you can check this on ESPN, you can go YouTube, Mike London Cop. You can go look at his story about how there was a gun pointed to his head. The guy pulled the trigger, the gun didn't go off. He retired. So my family, we stand for the anthem. But we also do a lot of things in the community. My dad is really active in the community. I'm really active with the New York Giants and the Play 60 cause. And I go around a lot of inner city schools around North New Jersey and the Patterson area to work with kids. There's guys like Mike Thomas from the New York Giants who had a football camp in Houston. Yeah, there was some football in there, but he was teaching guys how to write checks. He was teaching guys how to have financial literacy. He was teaching boys how to be men, and he even wrote a scholarship for a kid to get to school. So I would stand for the national anthem. I don't think I've ever really stood there and put my hand over my heart. I stand there, and if one of my brothers, my teammates, were taking a knee, I would respect that, because those guys, even though we play football, people love us because we can catch a ball. We can run 4-3 because we're amusing to watch. But if I was just what they call a regular black man, then what?
Wow. Chilling. Thank you for your testimony, Brandon. Thank you. I think we all are a little teary-eyed right now.
Are we done talking about this, or are we going to talk about stupid Casey Affleck? Are we ready to have a serious conversation? We're going to give this conversation the breadth and the time it deserves. Or are we going to talk about the next James Bond? What do you guys want to do here?
What do you want to
I want to continue this conversation because I love what Brandon said, but I also feel it makes me sad that we have to sit there and Brandon has to justify who he is in this country. Yep. He has to have a picture of his grandfather serving. He has to have a picture. Do people understand that, like, the Tuskegee experiments where they injected black men with syphilis was going on into the early 70s? Like, Sam Jackson was alive. You look at pictures of, like, his grandfather, and it looks black and white, like that looks like it was 120 years ago. That's happening now. The people that came home from Vietnam were treated like trash, black and white. We sit here, if you want to get into the vet stuff, because that's what they do. They change the narrative. They change the black men being shot by cops, and they want to talk about vets because because everybody likes vets. So let's have a conversation about vets. We don't do anything for our vets. Our vets come back. There is nothing set up. The mental health situation is so lacking that most of them don't even seek mental health. And because of that, they're laying on the GD street right outside of this place. We step over them on our way to a nice restaurant, and then we go and give them lip service while we get hammered in the backyard watching a football game talking about God bless America. No, very few people in this country do anything for our vets. You guys let them come here. They have PTSD. They're 19 years old. They seen their friends' heads blown off, and we sit here and we clap and we get mad at Malcolm Jenkins. So if you want to do something for our vets, all our viewers that are about to write some nonsense, then let's go. Let me see. Start sending me stuff about what you really did for our vets. I'm not talking about going over there and me going over there telling jokes, Bo going over singing a couple songs. I'm talking about really doing something. I'm talking about volunteering your time, volunteering your Saturdays, volunteering going to get these people off of the streets because you step over them every day. So stop with this vet stuff because you really don't care. Our president dodged the draft 5 times. He insulted John McCain. Your John McCain called him, said he's not a war hero because he got caught. And you guys sit here and let that ride? All you conservatives, y'all let that ride? Come on. Do we need to get into Tammy Duckworth, who's in our Congress, has her legs blown off after she's a real vet? Do we ever talk about her? No. So look, go ahead.
What I'm hearing from you is believe me, Al, all the pain. We heard the pain in Brandon London's voice when he spoke about being a former NFL player, but also being a black man, also being a son of a veteran.
My dad's a veteran. My grandfather's a veteran.
I know. So how as a country can all of us come together? How as a country can we be less divisive? How as a country can we not see it so in black and white, no pun intended, being like, okay, so these people, these players who are doing it because they're black men in a country that isn't treating them equally, how do we make them feel equal and not penalize them for taking a knee, especially ones like, can we go back to Brandon London? Brandon London, who is supportive of the military, who is supportive of police officers, and who is also supportive of his NFL brothers for taking a knee.
Well, I have a solution, Sam. For the NFL, for everybody out there, to the media, don't show the players doing the anthem. Since everyone wants to be a patriot, show the fans. Go ahead, take a pan of the fans in the stands with their hands over their heart. Let's show the fans, not the athletes, because you don't come to watch us stand there for the anthem. You come to watch us play. So let you guys, let the media, let the fans stand there and do the national anthem.
Thank you, Brandon. That was a lot to unpack. This is definitely, I mean, we're a live show. We're going to tackle heated, hot button issues clearly like this one, and you're always going to get honesty with us, whether you agree or not. And please contribute to the conversation. We'll be right back.
It's sports. Sports is supposed to bring us together. Without football, I don't know where my family would be. You know what I mean? And a lot of guys in the NFL feel that same way. It brings us together. I was the only black kid on football teams growing up because my father was getting better coaching jobs as I continued to grow up. I was telling Bo earlier, I have white friends that I would jump in front of a bullet for in a heartbeat. And it's because we were on the same baseball team growing up, and they've grown to be brothers. It's supposed to bring us together. Stop showing the athletes.
True, I hear that. Now let's talk about viewers who disagree, because I want us to get a fair point. And people are asking, Brandon, what do you feel of when people say, let's say, it's a business, and they are allowed to say you can't kneel? I agree with you. I think protests are supposed to be very uncomfortable for a reason. Mm-hmm. What do you hear when you hear, oh, it's a business, the owner should be able to tell them whatever they want? Do you agree with that? I know the New York Giants, Tish, is saying he'll pay for any penalty for any of his players. How do you feel about that?
I mean, forcing someone to do it, just keep him in the locker room. Keep it in the locker room. This is something that's driving us apart. It's taking us apart, and I don't want this to seem like I'm this mad black guy or something like that. I want us to come together. I want us to come together.
What struck me the most, and I hope the viewers heard this, is the fact that when your grandfather fought for our country, came back and was still treated as inferior because of the color of his skin. That's what we have to remember, because that happens today. So those players that are kneeling, it's not against the flag. It's not against our veterans.
I don't want to go there because my grandfather is all about
keep writing in, guys.
Bringing people together. You know, integrating the races, the colors, anything. My grandfather, that's what he went over there and fought for. That's what he fought for.
Thank you so much, Tori. Now, before we get to your comments, in regard to the smartphones, just know that we are reading your comments that are pouring in right now in regard to our last conversation about the NFL and kneeling. We will also get to those comments. So we just want to gather them, and then we'll have we do have them. Do you want me to wait? They haven't. Erica has them. So we're going to table this because I think we struck a chord and we want to continue.
And I think it needs to be talked about.
I do too.
Obviously.
We can't just toss it aside. Erica, do you want to share some of those comments?
I do. Our Wi-Fi is a little weak.
Okay.
Right.
So Erica's...
Oh, you want to go fifth host?
I don't know if we're going to do fifth host. Just to finish what I was saying, I just want us to have a real conversation. That's all we do. We talk in dog whistles. We say things, things about like the athletes don't understand what they're protesting against. That's a dog whistle, calling them stupid. When you get this shut up and dribble, that's a dog whistle saying, hey, shut up and entertain me, darky. That's what that's saying. And if we don't call out what we're dealing with every day, when our president attacks us with dog whistles like this, we can never have the true conversation. The reason, and they distract us with stuff about our vets, but all the people that talk about our vets, I'm like, okay, let's have that conversation. Let's talk about how they came back. A lot of them were given medication, and now they are drug addicts, and now they are on the street.
I get what you're saying, Al, and
Erica has the comments. I think we should get our viewer involved. And then please, if you could wrap it up, Jeff.
Julia Garland on Facebook says, don't watch NFL anymore. Brandy Spear says, if they want to protest, this is not the way. They are disrespecting the people that fight for our country and have died for our country, not the president. This is not helping anything. It is actually hurting your cause. Michael Robinson said, since when does the president determine policy for sports? Can he change the rules too? Julie Williams, nobody cares if you watch it or not. Continue to kneel. Patrick Moorhead, the president of our government has no right to be involved in private business. They should be lucky they play the national anthem before the game. It's not a law that they have to play it at all. Tim Hicks says, fine them heavily. Tim Pennell says, suspend them. Suzanne Crockett, like the 70s protests of Vietnam War, these are peaceful protests. They have the right to be heard. This is America. C. Francine Johnson, killing people unnecessarily is offensive.
All right. Well, Jeff, we always look to you as someone that brings it all together and unites people. How are you?
Well, obviously, the country's divided on many issues, this one included. But I just want to say I've been here a year, and I've learned a lot from you, buddy. A lot. So I appreciate it. I have, and I think other people need to listen to you. They need to listen to Brandon and learn.
Yeah. I love you, buddy. I love you too, man. The sad thing is, like, black guys are so great. We're fun, we're peaceful. And you sit here and you watch guys like Philando Castile get killed in front of his baby girl. You watch guys like Eric Garner get choked to death for selling quarters cigarettes. The way that black men are exterminated, Trayvon Martin is my son's age, or what was my son's age, and he's dead. And the guy that killed him is at the movies right now. There's no penalty for killing black men. Until we address that, how can we move on? How can we have a real conversation when the George Zimmermans of the world, when the cops that have shot these men have never been prosecuted? There's been one police officer that's been prosecuted if I asked all three of you guys to name the men that you've seen killed on YouTube, we would all have 5 different names.
Al, I hate to cut you off, but we have to go to break. We're going to continue the conversation at break. I love you guys, and I think that these are the type of conversations that we have to have in this country to move forward. And please, viewers, continue to write in, and we will continue this conversation as we go to break.